How much work has gone into it, and we are so grateful. I'll start by taking 2 minutes. I'm not going to take too much time. Then Dr. Timble will talk a little bit. Bishto Timble, patient Timble will talk about the media and his view on it. And then we request everyone to give a 2 or 3 minute addition, the contributors to the book. So, if you're wondering what the title is about, the first book in this series was called In Black and White. And there is that riddle, what is black and white and red all over? And the answer is the newspaper. So I don't know today in times of diminishing circulation whether we still believe that newspapers are widely read or whether newspapers are under pressure or whatever. But there is a very interesting collection of essays by almost 36 common thread or common point of view running in this book. We've let everyone say very much what they want. There are a whole range of essays in 4 or 5 different sections. So the largest section is homegrown talent, where people who honed their skills in journalism in Goa have written their experiences. Then we have a smaller section called Younger Voices, where some of the younger journalists who've done well for themselves have spoken. We have niche spaces, where people are talking about, horticultural journalism, alternative journalism and all that. And then we have another slightly longer section of views from the outside, where journalists from Bombay, some of them Goa connected, are talking about how they had a stint in journalism there and connecting it with their experiences, sometimes with Goan journalists and things like that. And of course, we have another section of journalists who were here, people like Debashish Munshi, Pushpa Iyengar, who have written about their experiences in Goa. So, it's a range of experiences. There, if you read in between the lines, you'll find something which rings a bell. For example, Gerard, who is with the Hindustan Times, talks about his own experiences with the newspapers here and ending up with a newspaper in New Delhi. Kamil Parke was a journalist in Goa in the 1980s, early 80s, when jobs in journalism were very few and far between. And he talks about his experience then. So the title of his essay is When 4 Journalists Shared One Typewriter. That will give you an idea of what were the times then. Julian has been in the Herald for a long stint, now into PR. So she has mentioned about her work, how she got certain stories and the details of, the thrill of doing something, making a difference in the work. Dr. Olav, who is both a journalist and a PhD in law, talks about his experiences with a whole lot of Goan journalists. You got to read in between the lines to see what he's saying. I'll leave that to you. And Diana has a very fascinating story where she talks about growing up as a science student and ending up in journalism. Pamela, who is refusing to come on the days, has written about her experiences in a changing journalistic scene where media gets politicized and things like that. So I think I've said enough. Mine is a bit on my attempts in the alternative media, because I think we need to get a voice at every stage. We need to make sure that there is space to give our point of view. So I've mentioned some of my experiences there. I won't take too much time, but I'll ask Dr. Prabhakar Timble Bab, to give us an insight into his view of the media. Okay, Timble Bab has been aware of the importance of a media for a very long time. In 1986 or 85, I went to Kepe to attend a seminar, because there were no seminars discussing the media in those days. Very few there were, maybe 1 or 2. And the media discusses everyone, but they don't want anyone to discuss them. So Timble was discussing it then. Timble is also a political animal. He is not denying that. He was part of Goa Forward and resigned very dramatically. Hasta to aata. resigned very dramatically and all that, which I respect him for. He was the head of the State Election Commission. Punanik introduction di now. Naka. Only just to acknowledge the cover photo of this book is Typographia Progresso from the house of Advocate Eric Correa in Borda. So it's a printing press which was a century old. And in those days, to publish something, you needed a press. Atache bashinnu. Not like we do sit on a kitchen table and churn out books. Okay. So having said that, I will request Timle Bab to speak for 5 or 8 minutes. Give us his view on the issues facing the press in general. Then we ask the contributors to say something small, and we have a debate. We have to close by 4. So it is now 3:16. We are well on.
Friends, time कमी असा म्हणटगर direct straight विशयाचेर येता, coming straight to the issue. So we are here. These are stories of told by an insider of the inside of the media. I don't know whether I have counted them properly. I saw around 37 essays by 33 journalists and 29 peep into the media in Goa, 29 essays, and 8 take you to outside. India Today, Midday, Free Press Journal, the days of those times in these media organizations, Economic and Political Weekly and other publications. This book normally is covering the period 1980 to 2020. That's what I feel when I went through all the essays. And very readable. No tension of reading the essays. You can finish them in 2 sittings. I'm also marketing the book. Huh? That's for the reader to decide. So that's the period when Goa was covered by the Raponkar agitation, the statehood issue, grant of statehood, the Konkan railway agitation, rise and fall of governments. In fact, that's nothing new. That's even there now. The 18-day chief minister, our folk hero, Churchill Baba Lemao, identity issues, environmental issues, the impact of the real estate lobbies on government and policy formulation, and as well as on the rise and fall of governments. So that was the period, and this essays have been edited by, he has been always calling me doctor. I am never a doctor, okay, because I have not done my PhD, but he feels I have done my PhD. the way I take that, talk with authority. So anyway, so these are compiled by a journalist, a writer, a columnist, an activist. Now take from me all this. A crusader of causes. He may say he's not. A crusader of causes, and for me, he's like a facilitator. He acts local, he thinks global, he takes Goa global and draws global Goans to Goa, and that's our Frederick Noronha. So he is the editor of this. And in the editorial note that he has put up, he has raised a question. So I start whatever I want to share with you from that question. The question is media read all over? So when I ask this question to myself, the answer that I get is I was a very serious reader of newspapers, periodicals, magazines, very serious reader, maximum up to 2005, somewhere that time. And after that, I am only scanning newspapers and magazines. And now, in the recent 3-4 years, I am just giving it a quick glance. I actually don't read anything. I may contribute columns, but I don't buy those newspapers and I don't read them. And I don't feel like contributing columns also nowadays, looking at the state of the media. Because म्हाका म्हजोच काकूट दिसता, म्हजोच म्हाका हांसूं येता. हांवें कित्याक बरोवप हे पेपराक, बाकीची पानां पळयली जाल्यार. So last 6 months if you have seen, I have not contributed any column. लोक विचारतात म्हाका, अरे तुजी कॉलम ना, बरयन कित्याक तूं? बरय मरे, बरयतकर वाचपाक बरें दिसता. पण म्हाका त्रास जाता ताजे, कांयच ताजे अर्थ ना म्हणून. If you look at the other pages in the newspaper. So that's the, is the media read today? Is the media taken seriously today? I just glance at the newspapers today. I don't read them because I don't find anything worth reading. Exceptions may be there, but those exceptions are rare exceptions. Now let me put something very strongly about Goa media today, which is also true of the national media. Whether it is print or TV media, and TV media is like, you can coin a new word for that. Instead of calling it TV media, electronic media, you can call it noise media. Because I think that's the media which is the major violator of the Sound Pollution Act. That is a light away. And the digital media is nothing but homemates. You have now homemates, Swayapurna Goa. So everybody is making homemates. You have pickles at home. We make pickles. My wife makes pickles, homemates. We sell them. So digital media is like homemates. Anybody with a gun, with a camera, a mobile and a laptop becomes a digital journalist today. So that's what I find in, if you look at the social media, there's a mushrooming of digital journalists. There's no thinking involved there. There's no qualification required. What you require is a camera, a laptop and a mobile, and you become a digital journalist. Now, how do I look at the media houses today in Goa? How do I look at them? 2 minutes on that before I close. आम्ही म्हणतात पळय आंब्याक बेनल भरली म्हणून बेनल रे भरता आंब्याक बेंदूल भरतकर कितें जाता ती बेंदूल आसा ती सगळे रोज खाता स्ट्रेंथ खाता आनी इट एफेक्ट्स द मागीर फायनल प्रोडक्ट त्या भशेन आमच्या सगळे मिडियाक बेंदूल भरल्या ती काडपाक इज अ व्हेरी चॅलेंजिंग थिंग. And since people are accustomed to using rhyming words, like in the very first essay by Dharmanand Karmat, he says from bars to brothels. So a title vachin dista. It's quite invites you to read. So I would say the press today has become, from press, it has become Pepsi. Press to Pepsi. Now what is this Pepsi? Press has become like a carbonated soft drink today. There's nothing natural in the essence. Pulp kaina natural. It's a soft drink where people in power have given you the essence. By people in power, I mean the government, the real estate, and the businesses. They provide the essence to the media, and the media and the journalists add the fizz to it. They add gas. Example, if the power says Shivaji ruled Goa, media adds fizz to it and presents it to us. They don't question it. They don't think over it. You just add little gas and give it to you as a Pepsi. So I would say press has become like Pepsi. And me as a reader, and me as a reader, as a citizen, is like a rag picker. I think we have seen rag pickers, no? They go picking up all scrap, trying to find out हातू म्हाका कितें मेळटलें युजफूल काय म्हूण कितें युजफूल कितें मेळ जाता तें विकपा जाता थोडे पयस पोल्सां घालपा जाता. So I'm like a rag picker searching to locate something useful stuff in this Mahakumbh of Ragdi which the media is giving us. That is what is happening today. And the words that we use for the media today, or we used to use earlier, and which the media uses for themselves. You open the pages and see what media, how media advertises themselves. Journalism of courage, fearless channel, we tell the truth, nothing but the truth, free, fearless. Now these words look outdated, archaic, obsolete. And if we describe the words today, if we use them to describe the media today. Now let me come to the book. Otherwise Rico will say, "Tu nakashil ulel more." रिकोची प्रॉब्लेम ते रिकोन म्हाका फोन करून सांगलें कितें तूं उलय रे कितें मिडियाचेर म्हणून जाय पळय तें उलय. So anyway, let me come to the book. If you look at the book, I have gone through all the essays. There are many takeaways, and I am not going to tell you all the takeaways because you have to take away the book. But one, in the very first essay, the takeaway that I find is very powerful if journalists can understand that. Journalists are borderless people. They are people without borders. But today you find one Shivaji can put borders on our thinking. And on the other side, casinos can put a border on our thinking. In Goa, maybe the journalists are caught between Shivaji and casino. So that is their border and they don't want to cross it. I'm just using it in a figurative way. Journalists create, in another essay I found, I don't want to name the authors, the writers in every essay. Another essay I found, journalists create their own prisons of faith, caste, community, and now the modern is the saffron prison. You know, another writer has said, for me Gomantak was my home. Now it signifies a lot of things. It's not simple like Gomantak is my home. It signifies a lot of things. Because I can recollect my days when I joined my teaching profession in 1975. When I joined the teaching profession there, our college was like our home. You know, your typography of progressive was there. Now in that old building, the college was there. You were a student, so you know that. And although the college used to get over, we used to be in the college. So we used to be there till 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. The college used to get over maybe at 1 o'clock, and the other section, you know, 11, 12 section used to get over at 5 o'clock. हम तो 8:30 बजे तक college में ही थे. College starts at 9, we will be in the college at 7:30 in the morning. So that age was different, and that is why you find Gomantak is a home means even if my shift is over, I am still in the office. So that was the type of journalist earlier. So that's what is communicated through that essay. Looking at Goa media today, just 2 minutes more only. Looking at the Goa media today, I just read one news item on the front page that shows the state of media. State means media is starved for news. They don't know what is news, how to get it, where to locate it. I saw on the front page a big news, front page. Government to supply new benches to government schools. Now, supply of new wooden benches to schools, can it be a front page news, a big news? So what does that mean? We don't know priorities. Neither we know to locate news, otherwise maybe we don't scout for news. So that is the state we have reached today. कैसे भी करके pages भरने का, कट करने का, paste करने का, pages भरने का काम खत्म. So media, I think today will get starved if the MLAs stop talking. If the present MLAs, if the present MLAs stop talking, the media goes to the past MLAs. They'll go to the Anand Narvekar. अरे किती सांग बरे आयचे असेंब्लीचेर किती आज आमगे हेडलाईन्स जाय किती आता MLA बोलयनात. So if the past MLAs, present MLAs and future MLAs, because aspiring MLAs is the ad revenue for media today in Goa. So if these MLAs stop talking, I think the media will be starved of revenue because it is the MLAs which give to the media their daily bread. You know, their daily bread is news. And that is only, it looks like it's only given to the MLAs. And the media is grazing only on these pasture grounds. They don't go to any other ground. Whether it is digital media or print media or our local channel TV media, you will find the news is what only the MLAs say or what the ministers say. But that's कुछ भी नहीं है front page में. No story is followed by media. For to follow the story, some MLA should make a statement, and then that will be the follow-up, not the media's own follow-up. So let me conclude now. From journalism of courage, we are not moving to, we are almost moved to cheered journalism. And we were earlier moving from the field to the desk. Field to the desk. You know, we used to run. If you look at the earlier essays, you find the people who have contributed, the journalists, they were running from the field to the desk. And now we are running from email, WhatsApp, Facebook and Twitter to the desk. So most of these stories that are done are based on either Facebook, Twitter, email or WhatsApp, and it's a few phone calls. There hardly any movement to the field. The media today is not holding the ruling accountable, but they are castigating the opposition for the failures. Look at media. whether they are ruling accountable for something. Exception may be there, the smart city. I'm talking about go only. But otherwise, we'll castigate the opposition for not performing your role, for the failure. So the entire frustration that media cannot take on the government, they are releasing it by taking on the opposition. And if I look at the media today, I find major space, 80%, leaving aside sports, of course, 80% or 75% of the space is politics. Next space is to faith and rituals and club news, which are table stories. You know, we have Ganesh Chaturthi. Media doesn't have a problem for 20 days because 2 pages are just filled with Ganesh photographs. 2 pages are gone for 20 days. Okay, and there are so many other things like that. Yeah. So faith and rituals and shrinking space for science and human causes. I should not close unless I say one sentence. This book, the stories are lively and interesting. Buy it and browse it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Professor Timble. When we called you, I knew exactly what was coming, so I'm not going to be defensive about that. There is another side to the story which Ashley will tell us just before winding up, the pressures that the press faces, and that's a fact. But now, maybe I'll request each one of the contributors. We have in the audience also John Aguiar, Fausto De Costa, Pamela Gmello, to say maybe 1 or 2 minutes on just telling about what they wrote, starting with Gerard. This side.
Hello. Can you hear me? Yeah. So hello everyone. I'm Gerard D'Souza. I'm a journalist with the Hindustan Times.
You'll have to hold it very close.
This close. I have one of the essays in this book that is, I myself don't remember the title. So to start from the beginning, when Rico approached me to write one of the essays, a question that went through my mind is how do I encompass, the last 15 to 20 years of journalism. The last 15 to 20 years of journalism. And the one overarching, or the single thread that flew through the last 20 years was the constant threat of downsizing. Even though when I joined the profession in the year 2008, journalism in India and journalism in Goa was on an expanding mode. New editions were being launched. Times of India launched in Goa around that time. There were a few Marathi like Lokmat joined around that time. So things seemed, bright back then, and the future looked bright. But that very same year, 2008, the global financial crisis struck, and that happened within a few years of me joining the profession. And the only constant word I heard after that was cost cutting. And 18 years later, I'm still in the profession. The profession has, I would say, plateaued somewhat, if I'm being kind to the profession to say that it has plateaued. So in my essay, I have tried to, bring all this out, the pressure the individual journalist goes through, what he thought would happen when he entered the profession, what the situation is now, and what might the future be. So I encourage you to read it, and hopefully you like what I have written. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gerard. Kamil has come all the way from Pune or Ahmednagar. Where is that? Pune.
I'm Kamil Parakhe, worked with the Navi Times from August 1981 for 10 years. Then I worked for Unidirectional Times of India in Pune. I've been in Pune since then, since 1990. When I joined in the Navi Times, they used to say we had 2.5 reporters, 2 senior reporters and me, a crime reporter, campus reporter. And my chief reporter say, Kamil works very hard. One day in a year, and that is the SSC results day. That was half in jest and half truth, but that was true. Because on that day, we used to get results by 11 o'clock. Mandavi Hotel, Suresh Amankar used to be the chairman that time. Goa, Daman and the Education Board. And the moment, and there should be good lunch, Mandavi Hotel, drinks and all that. Unfortunately, I had to take the results and rush down, get a pilot, and go to Kepe, Margao, Sange, Naveli, Lutoli, Mapsa, to interview the toppers. That time there were around 12,000 SC students and around 5,000 12 students. And we should publish their interviews on in the front page. And that was my job. I had to go to school. Many times the houses were closed because parents had gone to Mumbai for holidays. Sometimes I would say, come, have wine, cake. And it's so cold, have beer. But I had to rush. By 8 o'clock I had to be back. And this is the story I have given you. That time we had no landlines. Not even houses. We had 4-digit number for now in time. 2244, I remember like that. And that story I have mentioned there.
5685. 5685.
Yes, yes. So that is the story I have narrated. Now it is, times have changed completely. I took a photograph of Carnival in Mirawa, and I'm already putting it on Facebook. 1983, I remember, our Naveen Times had published the photo of wedding in London, Lady Diana Spencer and Prince Charles. And Sandeep Naik had rehearsed for 1 week at the house of Vikram Vohra in Miramar, Bangalore. Adjusting, he had a booster television in 1983. There were very few televisions in Panjim, Goa that time. One was with Kapoor News, and second was, I think, Vikram Vohra. We had a big booster antenna, and there 8 days Sandeep rehearsed how to take the photograph. When the marriage time, we took the photograph, went to the photographer, developed it, and we had a black and white photo on the second day with the byline, television photo by Sandeep Naik. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really nice memories. Fascinating. I'm sure many youngsters may not know you, but I know. Julian.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Julian De Cruz. I used to work at the Herald for almost, I've had a stint of 17 years, and now I've moved into public relations. As I was coming to this event, I came across a quote by Emma Thompson, where she says, books are like people, in the sense they turn up in your life when you most need them to. And I think Rico has come with this book at a time when we are at crossroads with journalists from the yesteryears and the new age journalists. And the chapter that I have written is something about that, where I am part of that school of thought where, where we had to actually go down, collect news. And I even mentioned in the book about the hide and seek that we used to play. I remember Audambar Shinde used to go to the High Court from one side of, the High Court building, and we would go another side and sit and write our notes. And today it's a totally different situation. You have the mobiles, you have electronic media. So the media scene has totally changed. And right now, if I see it, journalists from the old school of thought and the new age journalists, they are not in sync with each other. But each one has a story to tell. And that is what Rico has managed to bring 36 journalists from the past, the present, into this book. Again, there is a saying from, there's another writer, Carlos Ruiz, who says, books are like mirror. You see in it what is the inside of you. And I thank you, Rico, for giving us all an opportunity to come out with what is inside of us as journalists. And I'm now looking forward to reading all these 36 chapters to get an idea of what it is today. Thanks, Rico, and I look forward to many more such books from you. All the best, and all the best to all the writers.
You don't have to say thanks to me because I'm enjoying doing the work as much as I get along. I'll just take 1 minute of your time. Kamil mentioned Sandeep Naik. Sandeep didn't contribute to it. Without asking his permission, I took an interview he had given me and I converted it into an essay. I hope he likes it. His famous story of the police lathi charging those girl students is there. Two other persons whom were subjective to some similar treatment from me. One is the late Mario Cabrali Saab. When the journalists of that generation were going old, Devika called us to her house and she said, we'll have a meal there. So during the meal, I took 2 10-minute interviews with him, asking him about journalism in Goa. Now Mario, as you know, is a controversial figure. We all had a love-hate relationship with him. We liked some sides of him, we hated some sides of him. So he has told his story, his version, which I put down. Of course, an interview is not as free-flowing as an article would be, but it's there. The second was with Joel, late Joel. So one day we were sitting and talking after a function at Xavier Center. We were having a bhaji and all that, and he told me, you know, my name is not Joel. I said, what? Your name is not Joel? I know you for 15, 20 years and you're telling me now your name is not Joel? So I said, this is too much. I took out my camera and I recorded him. He was never into doing interviews. He was on the other side of the camera. So he used to say, no, Korea re Rico, Magir Korea re, today I'm not ready. That day I recorded him. 4 or 5 months later, poor fellow died. So that is his only story. Now if I made mistakes in their version, they cannot contradict me also. But I hope I've captured something of this. So onward to Ola.
Hi everybody, I'm Ola Badukar. Dr. Ola Badukar, call me whatever you want. I'm a combination of 2 professions, that is journalism and law. I've been a journalist for 35 years. Can you hear me? I've been a journalist for 35 years in most of the national papers. I started off in Goa because I'd gone for a job to be one of the leading papers here. And I was offered a salary of 200 rupees. I said, it's not worth it. My dad was a lawyer in Bombay, so I shifted to Bombay. And there I got a break in all the, starting with Free Press, I moved to all the national papers. First and foremost, I would like to thank Rico. He's done a marvelous job by encapsulating, bringing together lots of Goan journalists. Some of them not Goans as well. Journalism, they say, is literature, great literature in a hurry. And it's snapshots of history. This book gives you snapshots of journalism in Goa from the perspective of numerous journalists. I'm a Goan, and although I didn't work full-time in the Goan papers, I told you I started off in Free Press and all that. Moved around, I've been covering the Bombay High Court as a legal correspondent. So I see things both from the perspective of journalism and from the perspective of law. One interesting thing, if I can just mention this, is that we live in a world of make-believe. All journalists are taught in journalism school that the press is free. The press is not free, it never was free, and it will never be free. For the simple reason that the word press is not mentioned in the Constitution of India at all. The word press is not there. Article 19(1) says all citizens have the right to freedom of speech and expression. There's the word press there. So the freedom of the press is given to you by judicial interpretation. And soon after the Constitution was enacted, the Nehru government amended the Constitution with the First Amendment and put 4 restrictive provisions: sovereignty and security of the state, etc., public order. Because there was two cases, one in Madras and one in Delhi, where the Madras chap said was preaching secession, that Tamil Nadu was a separate state, it should secede and all that kind of thing. So additional restrictions were put upon the media. So what happened to James Augustus Hickey 300 years back, so it keeps repeating itself now again and again. If you go through these articles, you'll find that these journalists have spoken from the heart. They've told you their experiences, and it's a book well worth studying, well worth perusing. Today, as our friend said here, whether it's press or prostitutes, I don't want to use harsh words, is a debatable point. If there are no newspapers free in Goa, the media is owned by the mine owners, with one exception. So they are the ones who dictate what can be published, what cannot be published. My friend Ashley, I think he'll agree with me, right? Correct? You won't agree with me. That's okay, he's free to have his own perspective. You published 15 stories I mean, you turn in 15 stories and about, say, 12 or 13 will see the light of day. 1 or 2 may not see the light of day because they hurt those who matter. What is journalism? Journalism is hurting those who call the tune. Today, for example, nationalism is equal to, if you're a religion. Religion and nationalism are seen as one and the same thing. If you belong to a particular religion, you are seen as nationalistic. So those who don't belong to a religion or who criticize the government are seen as anti-national. Now all this comes into the fore again and again. This is what has to be exposed. Journalists have no borders, it's been rightly said. If they have no borders, you can't impose borders in the name of religion. Now, to remedy all this, we have to amend our constitution, we have to amend Article 19(1)(a). I don't want to go into all that now because it will be bored, technical aspects. But by and by, this what we have in the constitution today, this Article 19(1)(a), does not stand the test of time. It has to be thrown out, and an amendment on the laws of the American Constitution have to be incorporated. It says that Parliament should make no law curtailing freedom of press or right to information or freedom of speech. So that is what I wanted to say. Again, I just want to summarize. This book is a wonderful book. I would strongly urge all of you all to buy it because it was put in a lot of effort and it's a book well worth keeping. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Diana, thank you for the relevant points, Ola. Diana.
Hi, hello. Hi everyone. My name is Diana Hernandez. I'm with the Navin Times. And first of all, I want to say thank you to Rico, who considered me to be part of this book. I've known Rico since the beginning of my career in journalism from the Business Goa days. So thank you, Rico, for considering. So the first thing that came to my mind when Rico asked me to contribute for this book was how journalism found me. Like Rico said, I was a science student. I'd always thought of myself as getting into research, but I suppose journalism is another form of research in itself, if I could call it that. Yeah, so that's what I've written about, how journalism came to find me and how over the years I've learnt a lot, through different editors and how each of them have their own opinions, how they encouraged me to form my own opinions about stories and going about researching, interviewing, all of that. So the other thing I've written about is working in the north and the south. So they're both very, very different. I would still choose Panjim over Margao. But yeah, that's also an experience that I've written about. And also a little bit about being a girl in journalism. I know it's not very spoken about a lot, but yeah, there are a few biases, if you could say. So yeah, over the years I have indeed seen that journalism in Goa has changed. It's taken a route that I'm sure the older journalists would agree with, and I only think that we as journalists do need to keep up with the changing times. We can't force ourselves into fixed genres like I only do print or I only do digital. We have to do a little bit of everything right now to be relevant, if I can say that. And yeah, just broaden our scope, use social media to our advantage, and yeah, so looking back, I think I could have added a little more to what I've written, but I think I'll keep that for the next book, if you have. So, thank you so much.
Thank you, Diana. Thank you so much. We like your essay a lot. Michael Fisher is one of the only persons who was around in West Coast Times days. We are running short of time because we have to do justice to Ashley, who has come all the way from Panjim. So, Michael, 2 minutes, please. Yeah. Hold it close and speak.
I'm Michael Fisher. I work in more than 7 or 8 newspapers, starting from Kimloge right down to Canada. A little bit lucky, that's why. he wants 2 minutes. It's not possible because I'm a little afraid to write the facts as a reporter. I was afraid to write the actual facts, thinking something's going to happen to me later on. But now I'm thinking I made a mistake. Okay, I'll just make it quick at 2 minutes. My life as a newspaper in the Navin Times is disgusting. I was told to bring down my writing to SSC standard. Oh gosh, I left the office and I ran out thinking this guy doesn't want me. Then afterwards I was given an offer by some people on the beach, 1 lakh each, if you write that there are no turtles on the beach. Wow, the guys in the office, Michael, take it. I don't know, as a proper journalist, I went to the editor and told him. I just said, keep quiet and go. I already told the whole office here. I kept quiet and go. He gave it to a much senior journalist to do the job. They didn't like it. Uncle, bribing for the journalists in Goa is there for the picking. You are there, want to make money, become a journalist. 2 minutes over? Yeah, that's it. Then I was given a post as the business editor. So a business editor was racking my brain, what to write, I was afraid that next step will be edit, So I went as a business editor in style. I went to a semi-government office. I said, welcome Michael Fisher, come on, join me, have some tea. And I said, okay, I want this story and I want that story. 1 minute, see what we got from your editor. I checked the paper. Michael Fisher is not the business editor. You know what I have to go through is, it's a long thing, but some parts of it is mentioned in my book. Not in my book, in Rico's book, yeah. But I was afraid when he asked me, and I hope the next round I will really give you all what you want. All the best.
So Michael is threatening to expose all. But in the book there is a mix. Yeah, Penprick story is also there. But there is a mix of people who are highly cynical of the media and people who are optimistic. So we have let them say their voices. But Ashley, I want you to tell us the other side of the media. See, there are pressures. How do we face them? How do we keep the machine running? How do we somehow work in times of disillusionment? Up to you.
Yeah, I'm Ashley Rosario. I've been in journalism from 1991. By accident, of course.
Life is an accident.
Yeah. By accident, landed in journalism with a science background in academics. So, and I'm very happy that two of my colleagues who made life so simple for me from day one in the Herald are also in the audience, Alaric and Pamela. So, there's a lot of sense of despondency about journalism that has come out from these last 30 minutes or 20 minutes that I've been here. I think we are keeping the zero very high. When you keep the zero very high, then whatever you get is mediocre. So don't expect journalism and journalists to be anything different from. Don't expect journalists to be to journalism any different from what doctors are to healthcare, or what lawyers are to the legal profession, or what a cobbler is to mending your shoe, or what a barber is to cutting your hair.
You don't have any problem with cobblers.
So of course I had a problem with my cobbler. So that's okay. So journalists do not fall from heaven. Journalists come from the same system that lawyers come from, that doctors come from, that a cobbler comes from, or a fisherman comes from. So basically, I feel, being from inside, I feel the same deterioration has taken place, or the same degree of deterioration has taken place in journalism as has happened to any other profession in Goa. So that is one point I wanted to make, especially after listening to all the despondency that came out from my friend Professor Timble's words out here.
I'm an optimist.
Yes.
But I have to say something hard.
Fine. But what I'm saying is, yeah. So that was one point that I wanted to make. And the second point that I want to make, especially in context of the book, first of all, let me tell you all that I was another one that Vico had approached. I kind of, after much cajoling, accepted but did not deliver. So maybe the next book that Vico comes out with, I'll write the chapter now itself and keep so that I don't. Yeah. In fact, I've already written half of it, so it's okay. The second point that I want to make is this. Journalists are human. Don't expect them to be. You don't expect every one of them to be an Aristotle or a Napoleon or a Isaac Newton. It's impossible. So as Professor Timble also said, there are exceptions. Things are bad. I agree with that. Things are bad. There are exceptions which, touch the bar of excellence in the journalism of today as well. That is the second point. And third point, Rico gave the cue. So, life is not easy as a journalist. Life is not easy as a journalist to do journalism as well as to live life. For example, in my case, in 2014, after 23 years, I was jobless because of the pressures. I won't go into the minute details of it. Many of my colleagues know about it. And apart from being jobless, in a small place like Goa, I couldn't get a job in any other media organization as well. And then I was at that stage in my life that I kind of thought that I could do nothing else other than journalism. So what do? I was already a father of two then. And life was tough. I ended up doing a gig in the hospitality industry. I was the GM of the LPK nightclub for about a year and a half. And then I realized I can't do that either. So, fortunately, opportunity knocked, because my friend sitting on the right here, Gerard, decided to jump to a national paper, and they couldn't find a replacement for Gerard in the Goan, so I ended up in the Goan and got my second innings in journalism. So, every problem in surviving in a profession that anybody encounters in any other profession is also encountered in journalism. And my last complaint against a bit of the despondency that Professor Timble expounded here, is that why does everybody expect the journalist to be the savior of democracy and the savior of the state and the savior of the country only? If the media is critical of the opposition's role, it may not be 100% correct about it, but it does have a element of truth that the opposition is not playing its role. So I think responsibility for failure is collective of all professions that need to contribute, and similarly of success as well. Unfortunately, the audience, the lay audience of the media and journalism believe that the journalist is the first and the last hero of any achievement. I totally disagree with that. And a request to the audience is to don't put journalists and journalism on a pedestal. They are just like any other profession. Only then you will be kind of happy with what you are dished out by journalism. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ashley. Leonard has been a good guest. We will be a good host. We will be good guests. We will finish on time. I want to make two small points before that. To look at the positives that have developed over the years. Just look at the media ecosystem today. There are so many papers that you cannot not tell the truth today. Not because journalists have become more honest, but because you have a market competition. So in the past, if the Editors Guild decided that we will not cover MK Jaws ceased to exist, okay? So those were the stories of those days. Apart from that, now see small products like these, because technology, economics has made it possible for small players like us to put out. So we have a voice in a certain sense. I'm not saying we can take on the media machine and all that, no. But to conclude, I want to acknowledge the presence of three people in the audience whom we have not given a chance to present. That is Fausto Di Costa, who wrote on Konkani journalism, Pamela De Mello, who wrote on local and Delhi journalism, and John Agia, who's been a journalist from his school days. So the three of them. I'm also apologizing to you all for not giving you all chance to ask questions, but we can interact over there because it's just 4 o'clock. We had 1 hour. And I want to acknowledge Pamela's role in editing the book very carefully. You know, mistakes which I would overlook, she found, and things like that. So that's it for today. The last book to now is about 22 years. I'm sure that with so much froth coming up and with so many essays unfinished, including Ashley's, we will do the next book very soon. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming. Book show. Thank you. This book is a collection of essays about journalism in Goa as such. So about 34 people have written different chapters, each one telling their own story about different aspects of journalism. Some critical, some happy that they got in. Like Kamil Parke's essay is also there, where he talks about journalism in Goa in the 1980s. Us samay pe. Of a book which we published in 2008. So at that time, the first book was called In Black and White, and this book is called And Red All Over. So there is a saying called, what is black and white and red all over? And the answer is supposed to be a newspaper. So we have carried these two articles, these two books, with a title based on that saying.
Frederick Noronha, or Rico as we call him, has been in the field of journalism for many years. He has been with the Deccan Herald, and now he has been encouraging journalists to write about the news, behind the news, and what has happened. And I am very happy that this time I got a chance to write an article in its second volume, and I'm sure Rico will produce many more such books, and I'll very much love to be part of it.
Kamil, it's our pleasure. It's our pleasure because your memories are very important from a stage when the media was very small in Goa, and we don't know much about that stage. So Kamil has filled us in with that information. I'm so glad that you write about your experiences in Goa, in the Goa media, very often on Facebook. In fact, it's so interesting that although my Marathi is very tutti-frutti, I sometimes take it to Google Translate it, and and even send it back to you sometimes
Yes, correct.
to check whether it's correct or not.
Thank you, Rico.
I enjoy it. Thank you so much.